Please go ahead, ma'am. We are live now.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, I welcome you all to this session where we are about to talk about micronutrient deficiency among children. We are blessed to have a very dignified panel with us today. And, this is something which, we all need to discuss. So micronutrients, as we understand, are a very important part of our food, which needs to be delivered to the children because they are in the growing years. But at times, the food that is given to them is not up to the mark in terms of the quantification of the micronutrients, which leads to different kinds of deficiencies, which goes undetected at times, but it needs to be really monitored. So, with those opening remarks, I would like to welcome Ms. Upasana Arora, who is a co-chair for ASSOCHAM National Empowerment Council and chairperson of Yashoda Super Speciality Hospital. She has been awarded at multiple forums for her contribution to the field of ethical healthcare practices, affordability, community empowerment, and women leadership. We are blessed to have you here, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Kriti. And thank you so much, ASSOCHAM, for giving me this opportunity. And this topic is so relevant, not this time, forever. This topic is the most important topic because micronutrients and malnutrition for children, that is very important because our children are our future of India. So when we talk about a bright India, Vishwa Guru, or so what is most important thing that someone who is making this nation, they are human beings, they have to be healthy physically and mentally. And the important part is this, when a child is not getting food in terms of vitamin, full of vitamin, full of protein, full of all the nutrients, then he is not developing, he or she could not develop in that way that is supposed to be. So this topic, and we have all the good, our speakers are very expert in their field, so they are going to enhance our knowledge as well as they will tell us what to do. So all those who has joined as a our listener, they will get really benefit from this. And I am really keen to listen from all of you because I am very Desh Bhakt, and I really wish that my India should shine and bright like anything. So, and kids are the main thing for a bright and shining India. Thank you so much, Kriti.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your address. I think you have really put forward a very important point over here, that this is a topic which is of importance all the time, because micronutrients are not only important for the development and growth, but also maintaining the immunity standards, fighting of the diseases. So definitely it plays a very important role, and children being the founders of our the founding stage, and they are the next gen, they need to be really kept safe and maintained. So with that, I would now like to welcome Dr. Sumita Ghosh, who is the Additional Commissioner of CH, and RBSK, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. I would really like to say that, we are blessed to have you, ma'am. You are the one who knows this in a holistic way, that how India is facing this challenge and how we are addressing this. So ma'am has a lot of research publications, and she has conducted a lot of research projects. Her notable contributions have been in the national level guidelines and publications, such as newborn training packages, revised NSSK and SNCU training packages, maternal death surveillance and response guidelines. There are so many things to her credit, and I would like to say that, with this introduction, I would like to hand over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all the panelists and the attendees here today on this web platform. Warm greetings from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And I really congratulate ASSOCHAM for conducting this very important discourse on micronutrient deficiency, as well as acute malnutrition, severe malnutrition. I am the child health program in charge in the ministry. So this is one area I really appreciate that you have taken it up, brought the stakeholders together so that we can all work together for this very, very important, you can say public health challenge. It is a public health challenge. A child, it differs from the adults because it grows and develops. So in that, there's a huge contribution for good nutrition, and nutrition means that adequate calories, adequate, qualities, and adequate macro as well as micronutrients, because that determines the various organ growth, especially brain growth, neurological growth, the cognitive growth. So all these are very important for a child to develop, normally. This is a public health challenge because if you can look at the scenario of nutrition in child, what we get results are not very good. The recently conducted National Family Health Survey, NFHS 5, it has said that it has improved little bit, but very, very marginally it has improved from last, from 15-16, NFHS 4 was there, and now it is 19 to 21. This is the period of NFHS 5. So this thing has, it has not improved as expected. And as far as the most important micronutrient deficiency, that is anemia, is concerned, the picture is again very, very alarming. Alarming in the sense that it shows that on a national average, 67% of our children are anemic. So that is a very big challenge actually, because nutrition is, for common man's understanding, it is like food, but food quality, the food quantity, the food composition, these things, diet, these are all very, very important. And nutrition depends on other factors also, like it not only enough food and good quality food, but there is an vicious cycle of malnutrition and infection. Infection feeds into malnutrition gives rise to more infection, and it affects the survival of the child. 70% of maternal child mortality, it is indirectly complicated by nutrition. It is indirectly caused by nutrition, and beyond survival, the growth and proper development of the child is affected. So I will talk about little bit about severe acute malnutrition, because that was the topic which was given, and anemia in children. So severe acute malnutrition, malnutrition in children, it takes several forms. Like the child can be underweight, the child can be stunted, that means short height because of chronic malnutrition, short height for its age. Then it can be wasted, that means it is acute malnutrition because height is there, but thinness or weight is not according to the height. Then it can be severe wasting, where it is less than 3 standard deviation from the average. So this way it can be classified, and what we have to do for to prevent malnutrition, we have that the first and foremost is that it is intergenerational, means a young girl, adolescent, if it is less weight, then it will, the pregnancy, again the growth of the fetus will not be proper, so there will be low birth weight or preterm babies. And then again if child diet is not proper, then it will lead to further worsening of the condition. So we have to address the whole spectrum, starting from our young girls, then the pregnancy, taking proper care of the mother with food, nutrition, proper rest, proper exercise, detecting all the risk factors, and then of course the child when it is born, the first thing is breastfeeding, early initiation of breastfeeding, because the first the moment it is born, if it is put on the mother's breast, the normal hormonal reflexes and the bonding between the mother and the child take place, and there is breastfeeding is the most cost effective intervention for preventing malnutrition. Exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months at least. So these two, breastfeeding early as well as exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, this is the way. Once the baby grows beyond 6 months, the food is to be introduced. Again, weaning is a very critical period. If the weaning food is not properly given, then what happens? Most of malnutrition develops during that time, because the child, if it is not fed properly with proper complementary feeding, and the child is growing very fast that time, so it causes lot of onset of malnutrition. So we have to take care of this. We have to regularly see that the child is growing properly. Any early signs that the child is falling below the graph, there is a growth curve we have. So if it is falling below, immediate interventions with diet, with proper if there is any accompanying infection, all these things are very important. Severe acute malnutrition, we have nutritional rehab centers where any medical complications are treated and nutrition part is taken care of. Coming to anemia, the most important micronutrient deficiency. It can be of iodine, it can be of vitamin A, it can be of vitamin D, or it can be of iron and folic acid and other vitamins. So this anemia, severe anemia, anemia again can be mild, moderate, severe. So it is also again caused by multiple factors. We have to look into the various strategies. We have programs of iron, folic acid supplementation. So strategies are to treat early, detect, test it, treat it, and early, even for normal kids, we give supplementation, iron supplementation to prevent iron deficiency, because our food often, because of the cooking, because of the processing, often it is of poor iron value. So supplementation becomes very important here. Plus we have deworming. You have to do the deworming of the child, because often these worms and all, they, in our country at least, they cause anemia. Then we have to do lot of awareness. That is very important, that people should know that only filling the stomach is not all. We have to have proper quality food. We should have greens. We should have dietary diversity, we call it. Different food groups should be mixed, so that each complement each other, one another. So that kind of knowledge, awareness, and the care part of it. The child needs care. Often it will be whimsical, it will not eat, so it should be, that care should be taken by someone, mostly mothers or family members, that the child gets proper adequate nutrition. And we have programs. We need all people. Food, the water, sanitation again is very important, because diarrhea is an important cause of malnutrition. Then immunization, we have introduced rotavirus immunization, which is a common cause of diarrhea. So with all these, there are multiple efforts and multiple stakeholders, and all should come together. And it is the right of the child to have proper nutrition and to grow healthy, and proper the sticks of growth and development should be achieved. So with this intent, I think we should all come together, become very conscious, and prevent. These are all preventable. So let us prevent that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the deep dive into the different scenarios and problems that are being faced by the children because of the lack of nutrition or the deficiency of the micronutrients. Your experience as a pediatrician over a long period of time has really laid a very good platform for all the speakers to take this topic ahead. So with this, I would now like to welcome Mr. Harish Chand, who's the Senior Technical Specialist, Child Health and Nutrition, World Vision India. Uh, he's uh, he's into the, he has a broad experience in managing large-scale nutrition programs and providing technical leadership in World Vision India. He has more than 24 years of experience, which includes nutrition, maternal health, livelihood, food security, system strengthening, project management. In addition to all of this, he is passionate to address the issue of malnutrition and undernutrition in children. So we welcome you, sir. Please enlighten us with your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Can you please give me access to say once?
Yeah, already giving, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening to all. I'm happy to share virtual dais with all the esteemed panelists in this forum. And I especially want to thank SOCHAM for giving me this opportunity to share my views and experiences related to the journey of nutrition deficient children. I'm Harish Chand, as shared by Ms. Soni. Harish Chand, I work as a senior technical specialist at World Vision India. And currently, we are working in more than 200 districts, which includes multiple projects and short-term and long-term projects across the country, almost 200 districts. As the theme of this webinar is micronutrient deficiency among the children that we serve, I feel this is a very appropriate agenda in the current context where we have been struggling with the issue of malnutrition. And this agenda is coming in the forefront gradually. And we have seen this government has taken up these issues very seriously. Malnutrition, especially undernutrition, has come into the forefront of the issues, and there is a very good political and very good environment to discuss and debate around such issues. So let us discuss about the. So I have to little bit discuss about the genesis of micronutrient deficiency among the children, and we know all that deficiency of nutrient or micronutrient begins from the conception of embryo in the womb when child conceives, and a weak mother. So we know that if mother is deficient in nutrient during the pregnancy, so a weak mother or nutrient deficient mother will deliver a nutrition deficient baby. So here we see that if you look into this slide, the prevalence of anemia among the women according to NFHS 5 is 52.2%. And there we see a marginal increase here. So anemia among women has increased in our population as compared to NFHS 4. Increase in number and percentage of pregnant women will have negative birth outcome. So it will affect the outcome of the birth. On the contrast, you will also observe that consumption of IFA, if you see that consumption of IFA tablet has increased from 14% to 26% from NFHS 4 to NFHS 5. And so we also see that there is a little increase, marginal increase in the undernutrition, that is BMI has decreased in women from from 22 to 18%. So so there is a little there is an increase. So if you look into these major indicators, you will observe that maternal health during pregnancy period is not very healthy and satisfactory. So, which means we need to focus more on maternal health. And as a result, we will see there's a good, healthy baby being born in our communities, in our target areas. All these factors will contribute to the poor birth outcomes, and mothers most likely to give birth. Suppose these are not addressed properly, these factors during the pregnancies are not addressed properly, mother is likely to give birth to a low birth weight baby, and the baby, when it is born, it will be nutrient deficient. Yeah. So here, let us see how the birth of children. So we see, as per the NFHS 4, we see that around 38% children born with wasting, almost 19% born with, and 19% are born with this severe wasting. So the wasted children, so a good number of children are born with wasting actually. So which means the birth outcome was questionable, outcome was questionable, and so as a result of poor maternal nutrition during the pregnancy or during the adolescent age has contributed to the birth of around 38% of wasted children and 19% severe wasted children. This means a good proportion of children born with nutrient or micronutrient deficiency. Prevalence of low birth weight or what we call low weight for height is highest at the birth, generally declines after. So when the child is born, there is a high wasting, but as the time passes till 6 months, there is a decline in the wasting number of wasted children. This clearly suggests that maternal nutrition needs to be addressed during the pregnancy and also adolescent period. So, investing on adolescent girls and pregnant mothers during pregnancy will yield the positive birth outcome. So, we have a great opportunity to do a course correction and reverse the dent made during the when mother was adolescent or during the pregnancy. So, that time of first 6 months, and if you see overall, 2 years after the birth of the child, we have that golden opportunity, a window of opportunity to reverse the this deficiency during pregnancy and adolescence. So now, if you look into this slide here, the nutritional status of children under 5 years. So we'll also see that there is a age-wise prevalence of stunted and wasted and underweight children soon after the birth. So there is a 0 to 2 months, that is the first 2 months of their life. We see there are 34% children are born, children are with wasted. And by 6 months of age, there is a marginal decline. You would say marginal decline in the wasted children. And between 6 to 13, between 6 months to 13 to 24 age group, there is a sharp increase in stunted children. So we see that when the child is put in the breast, like when mother is breastfeeding the child, there is a, when the mother is breastfeeding the child, so there is a stunting is still, we can consider. Of course, that is one of the issues that we should look into. But as the child moves into the different age group, right after exclusive breastfeeding between 7 months onward, we see a stark increase in stunting in the age group of 13 to 24 months. So there is a sharp increase in that. And if there is a wasting, if the wasting is persistent in children, it will affect both their cognitive, that is IQ, and their physical development. So which is very important for us. So the question is, what is the way out? How do we, reverse the wasting or stunting the children? When is that golden opportunity? And I think study shows, evidence shows that the first, first 24 months is very, very important and critical for children to, to reinstate their health, to improve their health. And we can really curb the wasting, we can really curb, we really can improve the, status of the children. I can, yeah. So now let us see what are the nutritional indicators. What does the NFHS 4 and 5 suggest us? We also look into what nutritional indicators related to under 5. So we have seen in terms of NFHS 4 and 5, in terms of stunted, this marginal reduction. So looking at this survey, it clearly suggests that we have made very marginal progress in reducing the stunting and wasting, and 32% children are underweight and 19% children are wasted. So in terms of severe wasting, there is a marginal increase, if you notice that, and percentage of SAM children based on their weight for height, there is a increase. Now, if you look at these feeding practices, these are too critical. Of course, there are very other factors, but a few critical indicators, which is feeding practices during, IYCF practices during this first 1,000 days, especially after 6 months. So, in the context of wasting, we see and severe wasting, we should see feeding practices in totality, not only that child is eating or how many times the child is eating, but we have to see in its totality. Early initiation of breastfeeding and complementary feeding are most important intervention during the first 1,000 days in the child's life. And this is the window of opportunity. Everyone, try to profess it, tell it, but only thing, how do we capitalize these issues? Okay. Now, regarding breastfeeding, we see that that early initiation of breastfeeding remains the same. Like there's almost negligible or no change in that behavior. And early initiation of breastfeeding also compounded with exclusive breastfeeding enabled newborn to come out of wasting quickly. We also know that early initiation of breastfeeding is a precursor for the exclusive breastfeeding. If the child is breastfed, if the early initiation of breastfeeding is implemented, so that child is most likely to go have the exclusive breastfeeding. So, which is one key intervention that we really need to look into, that all our children are initiated breastfeeding timely. So we also know that, yes. Regarding this complementary feeding, we said, so that this is another thing. So I said the number and proportion of stunted children increase after 6 months. So we see that there is a more episode of diarrhea, and because children started eating from outside, and so diarrheal cases. So there is a chance that child will get the answers. So there is a chance that children will slip into the stunting. So which is why these 2-3 things are very important: timely initiation of complementary feeding, and along with that, the quality and the quantity of food is very, very important. So we see that complementary feeding is basically less than 50% children are initiated complementary feeding, which means more than 50% are not introduced complementary feeding at 6 months. So not only delay in introduction of the complementary food, but also food which is given to the children is inadequate and deficient in nutrient. So which need to be told to the community. Now you see the total children is 6 to 23 months receiving inadequate food, which means they are consuming less than food groups, less than 4 food groups, and even the food which they are eating is has not sufficient nutrient in it. So either only starch, rice, or some cereals, but in terms of protein and other important things are not there. Okay, so we have to see this whole thing in the totality. Now, so what we do, we have to introduce the 3 food groups. I mean, we call generally, I think everybody talks about 3G, which is go, grow, and grow. So I'm not going to discuss about those things, but yes, go is go and grow. Go is energy giving, and grow is bodybuilding, and grow is basically our regulatory food, or regulatory food basically. So which in that micronutrient is required. So all the micronutrients which are supplied majorly through the grow food, which are basically 2 types of micronutrients are there. One is micronutrients, nutrient deficiency. We can, there is a subclinical symptoms. So we can see if our hair, skin, and system, we can see the glow of them. So most micronutrient functions, their sufficiency can be seen through some of the subclinical symptoms. Now, the Michael Golden has given more insight into the micronutrient deficiency and its other issues. So there are 2 types of, so I'll conclude within 2-3 minutes. There are 2 types of micronutrient, we said type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is basically functional nutrient, and type 1 is nutrient is functional nutrients, and type 2 nutrient is basically growth nutrient. So the type 1 nutrient are basically which can be stored in the body, and we can run a program, for example, iron supplementation for pregnant women, or all other things, iodine, and that can be supplied through the system, through the program, and they can be stored and utilized later also. But the type 2 nutrient which are basically there is a requirement which is basically growth nutrient which requires every day in our food. So when type 1, he says, Golden Michael says that when type 1 nutrient is deficient, deficiency sign will be there, but the growth is not affected. That is type 1 nutrient. And when the type 2 nutrient is deficient, there will be no deficiency, but deficient sign, but growth is affected. So now, in this case, our important things, how do we ensure there is a sufficient nutrient in the diet of the children? And the whole thing is that now, if you look into in the communities where, especially very far-flung area in the tribal communities, you will see their diets are deficient. Even and one is they don't have any source of income. Family don't have enough money to buy these things, so their diets is always deficient. Of course, and this will contribute to the overall growth retardation of the children. So when we at the community level, when we do the assessment of SAM children, basically there are 2 types we are currently screening. One is based on MOAC, which is in rare cases where like in our specific context where possible, but generally all our growth monitoring or like identification of SAM children is happening based on the weight for height. So if we use weight for height, we are going to capture more number of SAM children. We are going to identify more number of children. 2-3 things I just want to tell and then highlight here. One is what basically we know from our program across different places. One is the higher prevalence of wasting at birth, as we have seen in the slide that there is a high prevalence at the birth, but it declines over a period of time in the 6 months. And low wasting incidents are highest in the first. So even or compared to other things, the wasting is high during the first 6 months. But as they move into the next phase of their life, the wasting declines. Efforts should be made to focus on the maternal nutrition. As we discussed that maternal nutrition basically contributes to the to the stunting and wasting of the children. Active care and greater attention should be given to the care of infants under 6 months. So we know that if we do proper breastfeeding, latching, and all techniques, our children are going to get more weight, appropriate ideal weight, and we can address the both all types of nutrient and during that period. A second is wasting in the context of low mortality in India. So where relatively low mortality in children 1 to 5, 59 months, even though high wasting prevails in the 6 months. So which is a learning that is the different research and different studies are showing. Mortality risk is of uncomplicated SAM is considerably lower than other contexts. So in India, the death of or mortality among the SAM children is lower than other countries. So the child will continue to stay SAM, but child will not die as compared as it happens in other countries, and especially in Africa. And mortality can be averted with timely interventions such as like what government is focusing on identifying the SAM children and referral of non-complicated SAM children to the SAM program, complicated children to the NRCS. So that is a very comprehensive package which government has rolled out, and I think that need to be taken care of. And persisting, so the third, what we also know that, as I already said, that this wasting continues in India. So though the only thing is that when the wasting continues, it affects the physiology and the cognitive development of the child. So child will not die, but we are going to make a damage to the future of the child if the wasting is not addressed in the time. And poor feeding practices compounded with dietary deficiency. So we know, like as I discussed, even like we have seen from the NFHS data that even our quality and quantity of food is not as good as it should happen. So those deficient diet plus poor feeding practices is leading, it is contributing to the persistence in wasting. And shorter episode of severe wasting in the first 6 months of life, longer. So which is happening like even from -3 SD, children will not automatically come or jump directly into the normal category. So they move then -2 SD and then they move. So it takes time to them to come become normal. So, but of course, one of the last thing I just want to mention that we really need to start thinking from the adolescent age, from adolescent to the pregnancy, and or if we are able to make some changes there, some dent there, I think we really can do justice with our children, and we can hope for the bright future, young children, brilliant children, tall children who can serve our nation. So thank you very much for this time. Annie?
Thank you so much, sir, for the deep insight into the topic. So I would really like to say that the detailing that you have captured across different age groups, what are the requirements in terms of nutrition and how these nutrients impact the physiology as well as the cognitive health of the children is really very important. So through your insights, you have really captured them very well. It goes without saying that the initiative or the corrective steps have to start very early so that we can ensure that our generation is healthy and wise overall. So thank you so much. And with this, I would like to welcome our next speaker, who is Ms. Shilpi Bachasla. She's a representative from CMAM Association of India. She has a master's degree in development studies from Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai. She started her career with Rajasthan Gramin Ajivika Vikas Parishad as a young professional. And now, she's working with New Flower Foods and Nutrition and also represents CMAM Association of India in full capacity. So we welcome you. Please enlighten us with your thoughts.
Thank you, Kriti. I believe I'm one of the youngest person to be the representative here. I'm really honored and privileged to be speaking at the same platform as all the esteemed panelists, and I'm really thankful for ASSOCHAM and also for the CMAM Association and its members for giving me this opportunity, and for ASSOCHAM to hosting the event. First of all, I would like to start with that I really want to congratulate the government. The representative here was Dr. Shumita Ghosh, the government on their efforts towards eradicating malnutrition in the country. The food requirements of children are being met with various government schemes to what we see, which is the public distribution system, the midday meals, which is in the schools, the take-home ration, the home-cooked meal, which is provided to them in the Anganwadi. However, as the government rightly pointed out, in prior to its communication, prior to the Poshan Ma 2020, in its communication to the states, that there is an absence of micronutrient and energy content in the dietary practices that we follow. Which is also is seen like in the past hour. That's what we have been discussing. This entire webinar is only planned on discussing how the child need micronutrients and how the deficiency leads to malnutrition. Malnutrition being one of the highest causes of the deaths of children under the age of 5. And severe acute malnutrition being the most extreme and visible form of malnutrition that we have seen. Children suffering from severe acute malnutrition, which is something that I don't have to remind the panelists because everybody is more experienced from where I come from. But yes, the SAM children require specific micronutrient diet and energy dense food for them. I'm representing the CMAM Association of India here. So I would just say that the association is only formed to help the government and the other for-profit and non-profit organization to join hands in helping solve this problem that prevails in our country. As Ghosh ma'am also rightly pointed out, that according to the NFHS 5 and also pointed out by Harish Chand sir, that in the NFHS 5, while the percentage of stunted, wasted and underweight children has reduced from the previous survey, but it has been really marginal. It's probably 0.2% of there is very minute change that we have seen in severe acute malnutrition, and which definitely goes without speaking that the current approach that the country has of handling the SAP in India is not enough. The current approach that we have is the facility-based approach, which however has 1,200 nutritional rehabilitation centers, which covers less than 5% of the burden that we see, and it is a very low coverage facility that we can provide to the children of our country. Whereas if we go by the community-based model, it has a higher coverage facility, and definitely there are various products that used to give we can use in the community-based model, considering the coverage and the amount of nutrient deficient diet that we can give to them, like also including what we give to them, the THR and other things. We can involve in their diet the ready-to-eat therapeutic foods as well. Here I would say that whatever efforts that the state governments and the district administration is doing, a central CMAM guidelines would go a long way in handholding the state and district fight against against SAM. The guidelines can draw from the best practices used in the different parts of the countries and all across the globe, as we also being the manufacturers association manufactures a ready to use therapeutic food, and which can also be seen in was used in the Poshan program of Rajasthan. And these any CMAM guideline that we would want to create, we approach to create, that can include and learn from these programs that has already been happened in Rajasthan or in Jharkhand or in Orissa. As a organization, what we offer here is we offer a wholesale initiative to the government and the other stakeholders in providing them a solution for SAM management in India. So we promote the community-based model. What do we have offer? What do we else offer to the government, in the sense that we are an Atmanirbhar? We support the Atmanirbhar vision of the government. The members of the industry manufacture in India and also exports to the world. The association directly employs 1,000 people. Various innovative products which are being used, which are not limited to RUTF, but are also being used, such as ADNS, which is used in Maharashtra, Balamritam Plus, which is also used in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The industry can contribute in the process of bringing in manufacturing expertise, scale, and ensure nutrition precision for the different kinds of innovative product that the government believes in. I would here just want to add on that as an industry body, we just only want to take this forward from here and do not want to see numbers going down in the NFHS 5 results. Probably this time it's 5, and then after 5 years we see 6. So we would just want to collaborate with all the eminent speakers here and see where we can go from here. That's all. Hello?
Yeah, you were not audible in between. Yeah, I hope I'm audible to you.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
you never mentioned.
No,
Okay,
just
sorry.
at the last. No, you were
Okay.
throughout audible. So yeah,
I just wanted to say that as an industry body, we would like to, we are present here, and we would just want to take the CMAM community-based model ahead, and yes, want to cater to the 90% of SAM children without the complication, which are not advised to go to the facility base. We would just want to be there for them and help in whichever way possible to the government and the other eminent organizations.
yeah. So thank you so much, Shilpi. So that was really great, and you have shared your thoughts very brilliantly about how government is taking initiatives, where we are lacking, and I'm sure that the people from the ministry and the NGOs and everybody is over here listening to us, and we will definitely have some corrective measures and improvisations going forward so that we have better results in the coming years. So thank you so much, and thanks a lot for your contribution to the work that you are doing. With this, I would like to welcome our next speaker for today, who's Dr. A. Lakshmiya. He's Scientist G, epidemiologist and head of Public Health Nutrition, ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad, and National Secretary of Nutrition Society of India. He has been working in ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition, since 26 years, has conducted many trainings and capacity building programs. He has carried out several large-scale epidemiological studies, translation, interventional, operational research studies to improve its service delivery and outcomes of national nutrition-specific programs in India and states, all over the states and RCT trials. He has published more than 150 papers, and his repute is, undeniable in this area. So we welcome you, sir. Please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm very thankful for inviting me for this important seminar. And also, I'm sharing very important, very renowned experts this dais. And this is today what we are discussing, a very important topic because the undernutrition, especially wasted children, are very, very high in India as a number. And because several previous speakers already they talked about what are the reasons and what are the programs are available, and so I will focus on some couple of things. One is low birth weight. Even somebody mentioned low birth weight because low birth weight is very high, especially in Southeast Asian regions and several Southeast Asian countries. And low birth weight even India is now is a persistent problem because we are still 22% of low birth weights are there with the recent reports. And the disadvantage of low birth weight children is the child mortality, the infant mortality. Even 75% mortality will occur is occurring just in the neonatal period itself. And another second point is whoever is the low birth weight child is there, the low birth weight is continued still up to 5 years, and they are also most of the children fall into this wasted category. So that is one. For this third thing is we have to focus. That is the reason we have to reduce the low birth weight, and in order to reduce the low birth weight, we have to focus mainly on the pre-conception period. The maternal nutrition is the optimum thing, and if you take care of the maternal nutrition, we can reduce the low birth weight. And especially even we have conducted recently international seminar, international conference for 3 days on 1,000 days, 1,000 days focusing on 1,000 days, and pre and post also important. So even pre means even potential mothers itself. So we have to register potential mothers, and we have to screen those mothers, those who are planning for a child, and we have to screen for deficiencies. What are the vitamin mineral deficiencies are there? So then we try to correct these deficiencies because the pregnant woman, she knows she got pregnancy even after 10 weeks or 12 weeks afterwards only. So if you see some of the published papers and literature, the brain development will occur, more than 50% brain development will occur within 3 months of the infant stage, so the fetus. So whatever the nutritional insert is occur, that is happening even before she knows she has the pregnancy. So then afterwards, if you give any nutrition also, it will not help. So these three things are very important. Preconception stage we have to take care. And also recently, because as all of you know that we used to conduct extensive diet surveys throughout India through NNMB. I am in charge of NNMB. And the NNMB dietary data, because in rural data and tribal and urban data, especially for children, we analyzed the minimum acceptable diet and the minimum dietary diversity is very, very less among 6 to 36 children. So that's why we are also planning to conduct a mapping of food models in different states, because the socio-cultural aspects are different from state to state. So we have done recently in 4 states. One is in Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat. And we have developed a state-specific models, and this was done previously in Telangana, the combined Telangana. And there also we have done specific food models developed for these young children. And we have also, in order to reduce the undernutrition, we developed one THR. So the take-home ration and ready-to-eat food, that is Balamrutam. So I was the principal investigator in developing the Balamrutam, and this Balamrutam was tested for organoleptic properties and as well as acceptability trials and it was well accepted by the children, and as well as the mother's opinion also very well. And recently, this was given to the technology, the formula is given to the state-owned food industry, that is Telangana Foods. The Telangana Foods now they are preparing in every day, the supplying almost 60 lakh children every day. This Balamrutam being consumed. Now recently, even Balamrutam, some people, some experts also advised that some sugar is high quantity. That sugar also we are now replacing with some date powder. So with inclusion of date powder, still it is becoming and tasty, and little cost may be more. And now recently this CMAM program, even community management of SAM, we are also coming with a Balamrutam Plus. In that Balamrutam Plus, we are also fortifying some other micronutrients, like even previously B12 was not there. Now we included B12, and we have also including some fat proportion is increased, and the dates also increased. So the Balamrutam Plus, we are also already more than 6 months we are doing trials in Telangana, and it is also giving very good results, and the weight gain is very high, especially in this SAM children. So that also we are also in collaboration with UNICEF and Ministry of Health. So the UNICEF and Ministry of Health, they are also planning to scale up this program in other states and other districts also. So these are some my observations, and thank you for giving this opportunity. So
thank you so much, sir. So excellent views shared, and the insights about the date powder that you just mentioned is really great. So with that, I would also like to understand from you that is there any kind of innovative products that are being researched or the studies are being conducted, because you are yourself taking care of a lot of trials and studies. So is there anything regarding that you would like to share with the forum?
there is no as such the important and convincing product, but here and there it is there in the local markets, but it is not, except the commercial products. There is no this under the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So with this, I would like to move to our next speaker, who is Dr. Sujit Ranjan, Associate Director, Tata Trusts. He has been associated with health sector for more than 2 decades. His experience includes large-scale program management, policy advocacy, and partnership management. He is associated with Tata Trust as Associate Director. Prior to this, he has worked as Executive Director, Coalition for Food and Nutrition Security, and Director for Care India, and Chief Operating Officer of Swasth Management and Research Institute, Hyderabad. So we welcome you, sir. Please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. First of all, it's an honor for me to be a part of today's.
So
valuable inputs from all our previous speakers. So I am going to present my thoughts, and also like how Tata Trust, a philanthropic organization, how we are taking this micronutrients deficiency and as well as severe acute malnutrition. So we know this fact very well that like, can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So we the key facts, all of us are aware that India's greatest national treasure is our children, and Madam was in the beginning, she mentioned, but malnutrition remains a major threat to the survival, growth, and development of Indian children. And despite historically high level of food production in our country, the undernutrition and micronutrient deficiency still persist in a at large scale. And severe acute malnutrition remains a major killer of children under 5. And one most important thing, what we learned from the public health background, like the children cannot wait. Whatever we are talking, whatever we are thinking, and whatever we are planning to do, we have to plan in such a manner so that we have to reach to them at the earliest. Because in our country, our country is not only dealing with the existing or the malnutrition, rather the crisis is also the undernutrition induced by the COVID. So that's the most important thing. And problems we discussed that micronutrients deficiency or hidden hunger. It's a negative consequences on the diet, and the hidden hunger is the most, I think, the prevalent in vulnerable population. If you go to the tribal areas, rural areas, it's more prevalence, and including the women of reproductive age and the young child and adolescent. And the picture from the NFHS 5, it clearly says like anemia in 6 months to 5 years children. What's the scenario in our country? Like I mentioned about the severe acute malnourished children in our country, and we know this fact very well that more than 8 million children below the age 5 are severe acute malnourished children. Or even if you go through the data of severe wasting, it's still very high, though it has come down from 21 to 19, but it's still very high in our country. And ICDS Integrated Child Development Scheme, it's one of the largest platform of Government of India. But that platform is providing the supplementary nutrition through ready-to-eat meals, take-home ration, and the provision of referral services. But the community-based management for acute malnourished children which is globally recommended, globally accepted, but given the scale in our country, that is still has not been in the mainstream as the routine part of the government system. And primarily due to the evidences, we have to like the contention about the treatment protocol, and also the evidences is not there with the policy makers and the public and the program leaders, so that a policy, that's why we are not having a policy at the national level so far as the community-based management for acute malnutrition. We know this fact very well that in last a decade, we have recognized that yes, malnutrition, this severe acute malnutrition or micronutrient deficiencies is a big problem for child malnutrition in our country. We have recognized this. We have also aligned, like I represent from the philanthropic body of Tata Group, Tata Trust. So we have aligned, like agree on the drivers and what is the probable solutions, how we can reach out to the most marginalized society, and what are the policy instruments, and at the same time the invest on effective program, how to act. And we have learned how to monitor the program, how to recalibrate the program in such a manner so that it can reach out to the large at a scale and reaching out to the community. So based on that, the Tata Trust, based on this reality, Tata Trust, the focus area, we decided to go for maternal and infant young child nutrition and a staple food fortification to address micronutrient deficiency, anemia in our country, and at the same time, the data advocacy policy. So when I'm saying MIYCN, our main focus is like how to promote, how to address the first 1,000 days and severe acute malnourished children, and the focus on micronutrient deficiency, anemia, and the food fortification. And data advocacy, Tata Trust is the lead and partner of Poshan Abhiyan. So how we can bring the all kinds of evidences from the field so that we can reach out to the government in such a manner so that that will be helpful for policy recommendations, policy advocacy, or the better governance and the better program. In last 10 years, we have also learned that the large scale food fortification is the simplest and the most sustainable way to address some micronutrient deficiencies. And it's not only the cost effective, rather scientifically proven and globally accepted. So if you see like the salt in our country, we have learned, and we are government is also very actively promoting with the help of the civil society organizations and the various technical organizations, like the salt, iodine salt, then also like the significant uptake after the government intervention in all safety nets program. At the same time, like fortification of other staple and the cost-effective solutions in the fortified milk, oil, salt, and rice. So Tata Trust was a partner to FSSAI, and we got an opportunity to collaborate and form the Food Fortification Resource Center in the country in collaboration with the FSSAI, and fortification standards were framed. So that's the most important thing, how the fortification standards framed, and for oil, milk, rice, and double fortified salt. We also learned that, as I mentioned, the severe wasting and the SAM children in our country. So based on that, our focus is like how we identify the states, and we have identified the most needy state like the Jharkhand, where the prevalence is very high, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Tata Trust is working very closely with the state government and with the other partners. And our approach is how the district mapping and the situational analysis, we can learn from the community, learn from the system, learn from the partners. Then also to strengthen the maternal and child nutrition policies. What is the state policies, whether we are reaching out, the coverage part, the home-based care for newborn care, and how the technical support can be provided. Like Dr. Lakshmiya is here, NIN is also one of our technical support partner, and they had provided a lot. Then the strengthening supplementary nutrition. So how the supplementary nutrition, whether it's a THR or the spot feeding THR, how the energy dense food can be available for the our malnourished children, SAM. And the most important in Tata Trust, we are not addressing only SAM. The MAM is also moderate acute malnourished children are also part of this our entire program, so that we can also have the energy dense food for the moderate, so that we can take good care of them at that level, and they will not move to become the SAM. Then the growth monitoring, how we can increase the coverage, increase the scale of the services, so that the entire community will get an access to the services which are meant for them, like growth monitoring and regular growth monitoring, engagement of the family, the mothers and the parents. And that's by this way we can promote the community-based management. Early identification, screening can take place, early screening, and we can identify the SAM children and take good care of them, uncomplicated cases at household level. And if there is a complicated cases, how quickly and how we can provide support so that they can reach out to the facility, that's the Nutrition Rehabilitation Center or Malnutrition Treatment Center, MTC. Then it's also very important, like how the state government can also understand based on the learning from the field and the learning from the other states to promote the CMAM in the state, whether it's a Maharashtra, Rajasthan, That's the our large scale intervention was there, Andhra Pradesh and your Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Jharkhand. And it's important like the building the capacity of the functionaries at every level, whether it's a capacity to household level counseling and individual counseling, engagement of the family with regard to the CMAM, and at the same time how the data can be collected, how the supply can be ensured. So that's the important component. We thought it's a part of the system so that we can take good care of the like acute malnourished children. Then community-based maternal, infant and young child nutrition. It's the I mentioned about the first 1,000 days. So it's important like how we are working very closely. We are engaging the self-help groups, the Gram Panchayat, so at community level, so that we can ensure that maternal, infant and young child nutrition, the understanding, and also how to ensure the availability, affordability and the utilization at household level can be ensured. So that's the model Tata Trust is having to address the severe acute malnourished children, as well, at the same time the micronutrient deficiency. And with the help of all our technical partners and the state government, national government, I'm sure that in coming days we will see a very different picture, and I'm very much hopeful that this kind of consultation is also giving an opportunity to learning and sharing, so that we can make some modification in our strategy and reach out to the target population, reach out to the most needy population in a more desired manner, and the community need can be addressed. So thank you very much for the opportunity given to me as the representative of Tata Trust, and I am sure if there will be any question, I'll be very happy to respond. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So thank you so much for drawing the attention of everybody towards what programs the government is doing and what all can be added to it, and how child and maternal healthcare is important. So the insights that you have given are really, really beneficial for the forum to understand. And with this, I would just like to ask you one question, that what do you think are the different measures that can still be adopted in order to strengthen this program? Just a summary snapshot of all of that.
So like it's important, say for I mentioned about the micronutrient deficiencies, and as you are very much aware that the government of India is having mandate to provide the fortified food through take-home ration, PDS, as well as midday meal. But the most important component here is how the technical support is reaching to the functionaries of our ICDS, those who are responsible for providing take-home ration, at the same time in school for the midday meal. So we understand this, and at the same time, like community level. So you have to work at both level. So far as the system level, technical support, operational support, managerial support are needed. And at the same time, at community level, how people can understand, because lots of myths and misconceptions are also there with regard to the fortification or the fortified food. We know this fact, this is not a long-term solution, but we understand that in the present scenario, this will play an important role, and we reach out to the target population. And that's the way we are, I mentioned about the self-help groups, I mentioned about the Gram Panchayat, I mentioned about the community level engagement. That's very important. But the technical support, I tell you, that's very important. Otherwise, the ambition program, like reaching out to all these schools, all the Anganwadi with the fortified food, which our Honorable Prime Minister addressed on 15th of August last year. I think it's important this year. This year it's important to provide the technical support from the technical organization, and Tata Trust is also leading this intervention in our operational area.
That's great to know, sir. Thank you so much. And now we would like to welcome Dr. Alka Jharav, who's in charge of the Pediatrics, Gastroenterology, Hepatology, and Nutrition Department of Pediatrics at Lokmanya Tilak Municipal General Hospital and Medical College, Sion. She was awarded Dr. Armida Fernandez Oration at 9th DEFPAL CME for the year 2021. She is associated with many organizations like Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Indian Dietetic Association, and many more. She has total of 31 years of teaching experience and has done a lot of research projects, as well as she has a lot of publications to her repute. We welcome you, ma'am. Please enlighten us with your thoughts.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank ASSOCHAM organization for considering me for such a webinar. It was really nice listening to you all. Topic given to me is actually severe acute malnutrition, the way forward. I don't know, am I audible? I can't put the screen.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, but I myself can't see it. God knows what happened.
Ma'am, we can see your screen.
Slides.
Ma'am, your screen is visible to us. Please open the PPT.
Yeah, but
Otherwise, you can speak, madam.
okay, yeah, I think,
Yeah, you can speak. For
but I can't even see you all. Okay,
No, no, you
now
can
I
speak. You are-
can. Difficult to share, but what I would like to say is severe acute malnutrition is actually a major public health problem. This is an overt macronutrient deficiency. But along with that, today's webinar is to discuss the hidden hunger, that is micronutrient deficiencies. So the topic given to me is micronutrient deficiency. Along with micronutrient deficiency coexist in both severe SAM children as well as in non-SAM children. So today we are going to speak about children under 5 years, where we have found Almost 70% of the children who come to us are with anemia. 5% have vitamin A deficiency. Our proportion or percentage of children with vitamin A deficiency is really very less. And vitamin D deficiency starts coming when our SAM children start getting treatment. Vitamin C deficiency is very less. That is scurvy. We have found a prevalence hardly 1 in 100 severe acute malnutrition. So in our program, we have not, what we do is we prepare a ready-to-use therapeutic food, that is RUTF, in our production unit. It contains peanut paste, powdered sugar, micronutrient, which are 21 micronutrients, of which around 8 are, both are type 1 as well as type 2 micronutrients, soybean oil and skim milk powder. So this we make it in a sachet and we give around 500 kilocalories and 14.6 grams of proteins. So we have done, this is probably the first of its kind in India. We have been doing this for last almost 10 years. And actually we have done both hospital-based program associated with follow-ups for a period of 8 weeks. And we've done the community-based management of program, that is CSAM program. This we have done it with help of an NGO called Sneha, and this NGO actually has done, we have done 2 types of model. One is daycare center model where the children were given the ready-to-use therapeutic food from morning 9 o'clock till evening 5 p.m. and then they are sent home. This is something called daycare center. So every community will have a feeding center which was labeled as DCC versus the home-based model, that is where the nutrition worker or the community link worker from Sneha would visit, give them the medical nutrition therapy or RUTF, would go and visit them daily. So this is a daycare comparison of these 2 models have really resulted in a good outcome, where we have our cure rate was in the tune of around 40 to 45%. And these are the children who who did not go into, we followed them up after giving our RUTF for a period of 4 weeks. For 8 weeks, we followed them up for a period of 4 months. And this, our relapse rate was hardly 10%. So it was actually a representation of a hospital-based NRC with a supervision into the community versus a doorstep childcare model, which is where they were visiting home like how Anganwadi workers were visiting. And the third model was a daycare center model where the children were brought to the Anganwadi feeding center or they were brought to the feeding center in the community and they were supervised. On an average, we got a weight gain of around 11 grams per kg per day versus 7.2 grams per kg per day in other models. So our daycare feeding model, supervised daycare feeding model was the best. So we have monitored the growth. Apart from rate of weight gain, there was increase in the height spurt, which was also seen on an average with a gain in height of around 2 to 5 centimeters, depending on the age band. The younger the age band, that is 6 months to 2 years, the gain in the height was around 4 centimeters, and between 2 to 5 years, the gain in the height was around 3 grams. Our ready-to-use therapeutic food does not treat anemia because it contains the diet, it contains iodine and iron in the required daily amount. So it doesn't treat anemia, but our proportion of anemia also resolved to almost 20%. So it has come down to around 50%. This trial we have published in Indian Pediatrics April 2018 issue. So we definitely, and we continue doing now such similar practices during COVID times with the help of telemedicine, where we have connected with various NGOs who are carrying this program. I think I'm really sorry if I can again see if I can share the slides. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So are you trying to share your screen?
I'll just check again.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Is it visible?
No, ma'am.
I'll just, from this presentation, I will show you few slides. Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. So I'll just show you, this is some other presentation, but this is our nutrition center. This is our NRC, which is indoor. This is our outdoor NRC, where we do the weighing, we do the clinical monitoring, anthropometry and weighing is done. And then we do an appetite test and we give them medical nutrition therapy. Okay. So what we do into the community today is we not only treat our children with severe acute malnutrition with the help of ready-to-use therapeutic food, but we also give our children who are above 5 years, who are severe thin, also the RUTF in different amount as which is spelled out in the WHO chart. We also give nutritional counseling and multivitamin supplements to our moderate acute malnutrition children. We do support breastfeeding practices and especially focus more on children with failure to thrive. We have a counselor who does regularly infant and young child nutrition, and to handle the double burden of malnutrition, we manage overweight and obese children. We have been designated as the nodal center for nutrition for city of Mumbai. We are actually the only MUHM approved NRC in city of Mumbai. So we support these 4 hospitals along with our hospital where we do the hand holding and we guide them about how to go ahead and way forward. We have been associated with various NGOs, at least 7 to 8 NGOs, where we support them for the community CSAM activity and community-based management. We also involve in training and we give them RUTF or ready-to-use therapeutic food because it is commercially we still cannot buy it. So it has to be done on research or on other collaboration. We have been doing telecounseling and telemedicine services during COVID and we are following it up. So this is our total SAM data where when we started in 2011, we had only 95 SAM. So even we had 2018, we managed or supported in our hospital 423 SAM children. And now post-COVID, it is again picking it up. And till date, we have managed 27 children with telemedicine. So these are our severe teen children in last 5 years, how we have managed actually. These are our children with failure to thrive. Sorry. Yeah. These are few of our research papers. This is the research what I was thinking of. Model, so 4 models of community-based research. These are our meetings with NGOs and stakeholders. These are our children where we use them in even in intensive areas. And this is my team, without which support this work is not possible. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So it's really great to see the great work that you are doing in in consultation with different NGOs, the telemedicine that you just reiterated. So wonderful work being done, and kudos to you and your team for the great contribution towards the society. Thanks a lot for sharing your views, and so as with all the other panelists, we really thank you for sharing your experience and thoughts. With this, I would like to hand over to Upasana ji for her remarks.
Thank you, Kriti. It was wonderful session, and I must appreciate that we have got the best brain of India on this topic, malnutrition and micronutrition. We need to make awareness society, not only for nutritious food. So for this, I think ASSOCHAM has to organize one more program on this. So people should take care of the females who are going to, deliver a child. So when they are young girls, from that time, we are supposed to give them good and nutritious food so they can deliver a healthy child. And from beginning, we need to provide good food to them. And this was the thing which all our experts told us, that how important good food and nutritious food. So I am really thankful to all of them, and thankful to ASSOCHAM. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So with this, we come to the, not so intended, but the end of the session. And sincere thanks to everybody, and Upasana ji and all the other panelists and dignified speakers who were with us today. Thank you, Ministry. Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for having us, go through this entire process so that we become more aware of the importance of the issue. So with this, I wish everybody a very good day ahead. And thank you so much for taking out time for this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.